Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Canopy Cafe on Friday, May 22nd. We are what stands between you and a long holiday weekend. So I appreciate everybody tuning in this morning to continue the Canopy Cafe conversations. We started having these about a month and a half ago with business leaders, community leaders, nonprofit executives, people that believe in the good business movement in an attempt to recreate some of the conversations that we would typically have at the Canopy office with some of these folks, and generating ideas, talking about how Canopy can grow in partnership with these companies and nonprofits and community-minded citizens. And so we missed having those, and this is our attempt to take these conversations virtually, considering the times that we're in. And we're so grateful to be able to do this and to be able to share the good work that Canopy is doing, and also the work of our partners. And today we have a special guest. We have Matthew Stone with Bluestone Productions on this morning. And Matthew has been a great friend to Canopy for basically, over a year since we've been around. I remember him being at one of our early Canopy General meetings, which we would be having right now if we were not forced to be virtual. Matthew runs Bluestone Productions, and the work that they do is vast. They connect, collaborate, create. They really focus on executing environmental, media, and live event experiences and virtual event experiences now, considering the times that we're in. Do a great job engaging their clients, audiences, and being a great partner to help people execute a certain project, to expand their brand, to expand their reach, and to bring collaborators to the table. So Matthew is a great friend to Canopy. His company is also a Canopy Letter of Intent company. So we're so grateful that Bluestone has signed up to go through the Canopy Certified program. And we'd like to, at this time, welcome Matthew to the virtual stream. So good morning, Matthew. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm good. It's good to be with you.
Good to be with you. Good to be with you. Where are you joining us from?
The headquarters here, the home office, as is the case now for most people. Home office. My wife and I actually share that same space, so we are collaborating in new ways ourselves, learning how to coexist. So challenging at times, but we're both still here. So,
hey, that's good. That's good. We're all learning how to adapt during these times, And
yeah,
I think the last time we met, we were getting lunch at Farm to Fork in Portland, and it's crazy how things have changed since then. And so I'm curious, your world, your work is really heavily involved in, event production, and that has drastically changed since everything with this global pandemic. So tell us, how are you adapting?
Yeah, so we're good. Yeah, it's an understatement to say that our business has changed. We saw it coming. We knew immediately it was going to create major disruption for us in the live event industry. Ironically, we were called in at the last minute to do a stream for a tech conference out in San Francisco the first week of March. Mm-hmm. So we kind of got in real time a preview of what was coming. That company that we were there to help had a large contingency from both China and Italy that were prevented from traveling. And we had deployed a tool that we've had for years that just wasn't used that often. And it gave us a great chance to use it as a test bed for pushing the limits on that tool. We were streaming 10 channels concurrently to thousands of people around the globe. And in real time during that brief period of days we were there in San Francisco during that first week of March, we could clearly see where we were heading. And so when we got back to town at the end of that week, in addition to marking the calendar 14 days out of safety for quarantining, we began the process of let's unpack all of this and completely reapproach, to fit this new paradigm that we're all going to be facing. And so I would say we did a 180, and then we also tilted because the disruption to our industry was immediate. We were sort of the first in terms of industries to get put on hold. And as is usually the case with things like this, we'll be the last. When your business depends on getting, 500, 5,000, 50,000 together for live capacities, you're going to be the last back to the party. So our plans had to not just be temporary, but it had to be for the foreseeable future. So as you said early, everything went virtual, and the challenges that are involved in that. How do you take what traditionally has been able to deploy that in-person engagement, which is, subtle for some to think about, but it's even on a subconscious level, the difference is massive. So how do you recreate that? And how do you then try to get the same end results, the same levels of engagement when everybody is sitting in front of a screen in isolation? So I'll tell you, with our industry, it's absolutely the Wild West. We are, for anybody involved in production work, you are experiencing the wild, Wild West, and we're figuring it out as we go as an industry. That's the downside. The plus side is, to fill that glass half full, is what an incredible time to be doing the work we're doing, because, as I said before, every day you learn something new, and that new something can be good or bad, and both to me are equally valuable. I want to, even if I got to pick between the two, I want to know what not to do before I know what to do, right? So it's
absolutely.
It's a lot of people thrive on that, but you've got to work beyond the initial shock and then the fear that follows before you can sort of embrace it and say, okay, let's roll up our sleeves, let's do this.
Absolutely. And I would imagine, because it's the Wild West and there's a lot of uncertainty with how things will progress, there must be tremendous opportunity. When I think of event production, and albeit not to any degree of knowledge that you have with it, but I would imagine that there might be increased accessibility, right? People might have more access virtually than they would be able to travel or to get tickets or whatever it might be. So what are your thoughts on, expanding the reach in that way?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. The few things that we've done thus far over the last several weeks, by far the one big takeaway clients have is they're just amazed at their numbers. And most of these are through registration sites, and they've got a history of what was the live audience. So we just finished up one this past couple of weeks that had history of 700 people over the course of 4 days. They turned that into 7,000, a little over 7,000 over the course of 2 weeks. The reach is absolutely one of the opportunities. I think the bigger opportunity for anyone that's looking to try to share that message is engagement. Yeah, how are you engaging and telling your story? Because that's the one thing that's remained consistent as far as we're concerned. At the end of the day, it's all storytelling,
right?
And how are you telling that story? So I think it's kind of a nice reset for folks, both on production side as well as clients that have that need to share their story. It's a great time to push all of the clutter away and refocus on what's our story, how to best engage our audience by telling that story. There's amazing opportunities out there, absolutely.
Yes, I agree, and I can see Ben Soley in the background as Canopy's resident storyteller, in full agreement with what he knows. And although we all are Canopy storytellers, but Ben has been that as an artist, and definitely with Canopy for a number of times. So we're right there with you. And you do offer, so Bluestone offers really quality enterprise level streaming platforms to help people in this opportunity for growth.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I look back again. I referenced that last minute sort of rescue attempt we did out in San Francisco that first week in March. But that system that we deployed, we've had that since 2016. And for those that remember, the sad time when we witnessed the passing of Muhammad Ali, we were brought in and engaged to handle and produce that live global broadcast. Yeah. And that was the same system that we used. It used to be called Ustream for you tech geeks out there. It was Ustream. And what we benefited from now over the last couple of years is it was brought underneath the umbrella of the IBM Watson platform. And so it's a massive, wonderful, intuitive, a lot of AI-driven elements to it. But the big thing on it is it has a really robust, what we call a CDN, a content delivery network. And so when you're looking for a load-bearing system that does global scaling, that's the one that we deploy. But, having said that, anybody out there who's looking, I mean, what an amazing frontier of products. There is now, if I'm wanting to stream, my pickup basketball game, or I'm wanting to go global to tens and hundreds of thousands, there are so many options for everybody. And so that's the good news. It's a playground of toys.
Yeah, absolutely. And this week was reacclimating myself with some of the work that you've done. And what really stood out to me, obviously, as a lifelong Louisvillian, was the Muhammad Ali tribute video and work that you did for that entire event. And, it really got me thinking about, everything that he stood for as a person, on a global scale. Obviously the greatest, not just in the boxing ring, but for humanitarian efforts, for this compassionate way of living. And so, I'm curious, what are your thoughts? Principles of Muhammad Ali translated to Canopy's work and growing and supporting good business. What's your take on that?
Yeah, that's an interesting intersection. Your point about Ali and what he stood for is spot on. And I would even offer up additionally that the work that the Muhammad Ali Center continues to do. They're one of our local clients here. We absolutely love working with them. But from a personal standpoint, I mean, the mission that they carry on based on those 6 principles of Ali, it's kind of hard to make an argument against any of those for anyone that's familiar with those principles. If you're not, go to their website, read about them. But, that's part of Louisville integrating there too. I mean, the fact that, personally, I'm so proud of our label and our place in the compassionate space. I mean, to be a compassionate city, to have the ties to Merton, Ali, we are the perfect, I think, case study of what that system, to try to merge some of these beliefs and what does that look like, ultimately wrapped up in the skin of being a compassionate city. And what does that do for the message that you're sending, and a lot of the work that you guys and your team at Canopy are doing, I would love for the day to come to when we talk about good business, not just mean the business metrics are good. Right. What a day when it's like, hey, this is part of doing good business. And that good means the greater good, something beyond just your P&L, and how are you impacting your community, the people that work for you. You guys deal with this engagement all the time of trying to share and, spread the gospel, as it were.
Right.
I think Louisville's very fortunate to be a perfect launch pad for something like Canopy, where all of these virtues are already, as part of our ethos of, the awareness. Sadly, it's probably not the same case with a lot of places. So we should feel lucky in that regard.
I agree.
Did that answer your question, or just ramble?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And I agree with you, Matthew. I think, we start to see it more and more, and especially from where we sit at Canopy, we have the good fortune to work with mindful business owners, companies, nonprofits, and people that just think in this way, that true success in terms of business is not solely defined by the financial bottom line, but really it always has been defined in part by that, yes, but also more holistically what you do for the world. And the principles of Ali that, really go beyond oneself, right? And you have this responsibility to leverage the good things that you have to make a positive impact for people and the environment. And not only is it altruism, but it's also an unavoidable bottom line. You know, it's going to translate to increased success, and especially the way that people are thinking more and more. Younger generations are coming up and demanding this from the companies they purchase from and want to work for, you know. And so we are trying to grow that. We are trying to make the case, and as often as we can, that these are just unbelievably important business practices that as you report on your finances, we should also be reporting on the social and environmental impacts that you're making, you know, at the same time. And that's what resonates with me. I think that's what resonates with a lot of people. And I'm sure you see that in your business as well.
Yeah, and it's, while you were mentioning that, I was thinking of, there were a lot of large companies on the forefront of that, that as part of their annual report and the sustainability efforts, and they would share those metrics. Brown Forman was really good about that before, it was something that was as widely used. But regardless of when an entity, a business comes to the party, rising tides lift all boats, right? Mm-hmm. So the fact of the early frontiers that we're doing that, I think, helps set the stage. And I think you're quickly seeing this escalation where we get to the tipping point to where if you're not thinking that way, now you're the outlier. And, what a wonderful thing that is. And quickly to your point about younger people, I think what you're seeing is a new day of, I don't want to have hard lines dividing my sense of self and then my sense of this is who I am at work. So there's the work me and there's the, personal me. I think once those lines blur, that's what's going to drive a lot of this is aside from the money, I don't want to be aligned with some entity that I don't feel like I can be proud about or share the joy of the work or, the morality of what they do or how they do things. I think that's absolutely huge because I think you're seeing that, to your point, and emerging, groups coming into the workforce now. Mm-hmm. They want to feel good about it, and they don't want to draw those hard lines of, hey, this is what I believe personally, but I need to set that aside while I'm at work. It's all becoming one.
Exactly. Well said. Well said. You must be very effective at messaging on a daily basis. We just need to bring you into the Canopy fold more often. We need you on a daily basis.
Just record. I'll start. Just record. I'll start yapping. Yeah.
So Matthew, you are a Canopy letter of intent company, meaning that everything has been pushed back during the global pandemic.
Right.
Once we have the program established and ready, at a time that is most appropriate to begin, Bluestone has stepped up to go through the program. And this is all about helping businesses incorporate intentionality with their social and environmental good that they do. And so to you as a business owner, how do you define good business?
Yeah, similar to some other thought processes, I would, what is it? The doctor's oath. Number one, do no harm.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think that's a great place to start. Let's start at do no harm. Beyond that, I think it's truly, what we've been talking about. It's how are you and your business fitting within your immediate community, and then scaling that out and that point of view out. What are you doing to better not just the folks that are internally working for you, but depending on what your product or service is, follow that through and keep that sense of consistency of what's right, what's compassionate, what's good. I think you just have to change that lens that you look through. And once you do, it's not complicated at all. It becomes very obvious what your starting foot should be. And I think it's essential to change that lens and to break down the barriers that may be left over from an old paradigm of thinking that you have to choose. Well, if I want to make these sacrifices to my business because I need to fit this metric of being good in this way, then that's going to lower my business. I'm going to take a hit somehow on my numbers. Mm-hmm. I would argue with the premise there, right. And I think that's part of the evolution. It's sometimes I even like to think to myself that, oh, maybe we're actually lucky enough to be entering this new sort of phase of society, maybe a new renaissance or something. You won't know, like most cases, you won't know until you come out the other side, but maybe that's part of this renaissance. Maybe that's part of this awakening of having a sense of obligation beyond just old traditional numbers and P&L reports. What are you doing? What's your part of being good, right?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, well said. We have a comment from our good friend John over at GLI. He says he loves some Matthew Stone. So you got a fan over at GLI. Shout out to John. Thank you for the great work at GLI and everything you have going on. A great friend to Canopy also. And this is a great moment to ask anybody who's tuning in. If you have questions for Matthew or I, or you want to show some love to Matthew, please drop a comment in the live feed here, and we'll be happy to answer any questions and give you a shout out. Matthew, I do have one question for you. You do a lot of work, outside of Louisville and outside of Kentucky, and so, because Canopy is based here in Louisville and of the state of Kentucky, what do you see as the opportunity for the good business movement in our state, in Kentucky, as somebody who does work all over the place?
Yeah, I think you guys have an incredible opportunity. I mean, obviously, we have to acknowledge, that we're kind of in a pause mode. We're sort of I don't want to say standstill, because it's not standing still at all. It's just kind of an element of pause to it. There's work that's still going on, but in the context of where we are, it's different work. I think the opportunity is incredible. I think, personally, my beliefs are the key elements at our state, and some of the most defining things of our state, our agriculture, our sense and our resources for nature around here and the natural beauty. I think Kentucky's got a great opportunity here to, finally show up in a metric other than making a headline because of, where we are in health rankings or smoking, or all of those things. I think the opportunity is incredible. I think you've got a foundation built on the folks like Thomas Merton. I think you've got a foundation built on people like Wendell Berry, which I'm a huge fan of.
Me too.
Yeah, we could go on and just do an episode on Wendell Berry for sure.
Yeah.
But I think you can't minimize that or reduce that down. I think you have to acknowledge that that's huge. That's a foundation that others don't have the opportunity for, and it is so aligned with part of Canopy's mission and your aesthetics and approach to trying to elevate that sense of good business. But I think it's huge. And I think, to your point, yeah, we do majority of our work outside of Louisville, probably 70%. I can't wait for the spread, so that when I'm leaving Kentucky, I can't wait to go through the list and see, oh yeah, we're headed to this state. And yep, they're also a Canopy participant or member. I look forward to that day and the spread of it, the spread of the gospel.
That's right. Hey, it's coming soon. This movement is inevitable. So we'll be promoting that. It'll be here before we know it. I have no doubt. We have a great question here from Ben Solee. So, Matthew, what should performers and speakers be doing right now to engage remote audiences?
Well, yeah, thank you for the question, Ben Solee. I know you probably know the answer, but yeah, thanks for teeing it up. For us, again, it's all comes down to storytelling.
Yeah.
What is your story? And I know that sounds generic, but it really is. Once you look at the essence of what that's begging of the person to do, what is the essence of what you're trying to communicate? The tools are out there to do it. I think people a lot of times rush beyond just that first step of really diving in, and sometimes it's a self-discovery. You may start thinking, well, this is our story. No, you're kind of telling me what you're hoping the end result is. What's the story? The good news is all those tools we referenced earlier with streaming and distribution of content, there's never been a better day. We have so much at our disposal now. Don't rush to get to that. Don't rush to get to the means and how you're deploying it. spend more time on square one, which is the story. How are you engaging? Is there a built-in call to action there? Maybe, but maybe not. But if you stick with being true to your story and to ensure your voice is not only driving that story consistently, but that voice is authentic. That's the other thing that we constantly challenge folks is find your authentic voice. Everything else, everything else gets into tactics, engagements, oh, let's make sure we add on a Q&A module or a chat feature module. That's great. I take you back to square one. What's your story and how do you tell it authentically?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're getting close to our time here, Matthew. And so two final questions. The first one, I want to give you the opportunity for closing remarks. Anything that you have on your mind, work that you're doing that you want to promote, talking about partnership with Canopy. Final comments from you. The floor is yours.
I would just say, again, I sort of referenced it earlier. The romantic in me would love to think that we're all living in a very unique time, and being of the moment, you don't always have the benefit. Obviously, you don't have benefit of hindsight. I hope that we realize down the road, and maybe it'll be up to others to realize this, there's sort of an awakening, a renaissance going on. I hope out of all of these current, the challenges that we're going through, when you strip away, the politicization of elements, when you strip away all the gloom and doom and the bad news, and there are serious challenges, obviously, specifically for health that we're going through. But wouldn't it be nice to look back and know that, hey, this was a time that we really got to sort of hit the pause button, and it allowed us to reconnect with our neighbors, with our communities, and our new normal will certainly evolve and take care of itself. But wouldn't it be nice if we approach that new normal with a strengthened bond of purpose, of community, and of something larger than just ourselves? Again, that's the romantic in me. I'd like to think that, and even if we take just a little glint of that forward, I think we'll find ourselves better than we were when we headed into all of this current situation.
Absolutely. Over the course of history, there have been some amazing things to come out of quarantine and time where we're very, introspective and thinking of the way that things should be. And I completely agree with you. I think this is a renaissance, and I look forward to the other side when we take some of these really important concepts with us, the most important pieces that come with us as we move through and beyond this.
Indeed.
So last thing, where can people go to learn about you, your work, potential clients, interested folks? I see we have the website down here on the bottom, bluestonelive.com. Anything else you'd like to add, where you can direct people, Matthew?
Yeah, no, our web presence is bluestonelive.com. You can find our social channels. We're connected in all the typical expected ways. Reach out, and I, more than anything, I look forward to having somebody come up in person in the future down the road of, hey, I heard that podcast. Ben Smock sure is smart, isn't he? And yes, he is.
Well, thank you. I'll make sure that I tell my mom that later today.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
Well, Matthew, thank you so much for joining the Canopy Cafe. Always a pleasure to chat with you, and thank you so much for your work and your partnership with Canopy. We're so glad for you and the work that you're doing. So thanks for everything today, and we'll talk to you soon, hopefully soon in person.
Good to be with you. Thanks.
Okay, take care. All right, everybody, that was Matthew Stone, and we are so proud to be working with him and Bluestone Productions, and you can see the work that they're doing is shifting and remains as important as ever. And so thank you all for tuning in to the Canopy Cafe on this Friday before a long holiday weekend. Before you leave, there are a few things you can do if you're enjoying these Canopy Cafes and if you are interested in taking action. The first of which is to sign the Charter for Good Business. We are trying our best to raise 1,000 signatures of people that believe in Canopy's mission to grow businesses to positively impact people, our planet, and our future. If you agree with our work, please just simply sign your name. And you can go to canopyky.org and sign the charter. And of course, we are a startup nonprofit organization that relies heavily on donations. If you are interested in supporting our work, we would love you for it. And you can do so by visiting canopyky.org/donate or texting to give at the number you see below. I just want to say thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. Next week, we will have some more amazing guests on the Canopy Cafe. So check us out, Facebook Live at 10 a.m. every weekday. And we look forward to seeing you then. I hope everybody has a wonderful and safe holiday weekend. Take care.